Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage and the Benz. In this video I will address an issue that is not a very big issue, but it's very annoying. The brake discs on the front are warped. When I apply the brakes gently, at high speeds especially, the car shakes, and that's really annoying. So I would like to change those discs and see if there's any cause for it, because if the calipers are binding, it could be the reason. It could have overheated the discs, so I will have to make sure that they are not binding before I put on a new disc and some new pads. Woo! There we go. And before I remove the bolts completely holding on the caliper, I'm just going to remove the brake shoes also and make sure that the caliper is not binding. Oh, look what I did. So the caliper is not binding, that's for sure. Otherwise I wouldn't get them out this easily. Plenty of meter than these. Just gonna make sure that it's not stuck on this side either. Nope, it slides fine. Remove the caliper and place it right here. So that way it doesn't bind up on anything. And then I can remove this. Ah, I recognize that. This is the same as my Porsche, this setup. That's interesting. So it's just a clamping bolt that I need to undo. There we go. I can undo this. And maybe try not to get too much crap into it. There we go. And I can remove the disc together with the bearing like this. The inside of this disc is not looking very good. It got gray rust. This would normally be an MOT fail in Denmark. It's not possible to really see it because of the brake dust shield, and the outside looks just fine. So, but I can actually feel thickness difference with my fingers, so it doesn't really need to measure too much. And let's remove the disc from the hub. Like that. Of course this rotor could be refaced, but this is an MOT fail in my country. So it's good to change it. Then I need to make sure that this is completely clean, because if something is underneath here, it will make the disc crooked and wear it out very quickly, or at least get vibrations very quickly. And there we go. I will add some anti-seize to this part of it, just to avoid it fusing together like this, and then take the new disc like this. And then I'm gonna go find my torque wrench and torque him up to 114. But that will be hard because it will just spin, of course. I don't think I can keep that still now. So I think I will have to clamp it somehow. Clamped with pieces of wood to protect it. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to keep it in place though, but let's see. Yep. There we go. Then to clean off the protective oil. That's ready to install now. Just going to remove this grease and replace it with some fresh grease. Fresh grease in the inner bearing. I'm going to slide it on now. Like that. The outer bearing got some fresh grease also. Let's fit that in. It's Timken bearings, by the way. Wow. Then I can fit this one and adjust the tension. To do that, I'm supposed to tighten up this until it no longer spins. I'd say that's right around there. And then I'm gonna loosen it up 1/3 of a turn. So right around there. Give it a whack to loosen up the bearing. And then I can tighten up this. That should be it. According to the Haynes, at least. Like this. And then I can install the grease cap. Like that. And then just to remove the grease that I put on when spinning it. Like this. That looks nice. And then I can install the caliper. That is also to 114. This is enjoyable. It's nice to work on this car because everything is just so well put together and big, and yeah, it's a nice car to work on. I really like it. I enjoy working on these. The only thing I don't really like about them is the sudden appearance of massive rust that sometimes happens on them. Remember, I like to fix rust, just not too much at one time. There we go, that's one done. And then a new set of brake pads. Bit of a shame, the old one where there were plenty of meat on the old one, but especially the inner one was worn. It would probably end up damaging the new disc once again. And would also be braking quite bad for the first few miles. It's this one. It's not bad, but it's feelable. So I'm not taking any chances. There we go. And then the pin. I'm gonna do the same on the other side and then go for a test drive. So back on the road and the Benz. Now it's just a matter of figuring out if this works. Of course I have to be a bit careful with the brakes now because for once they are not going to work very well because it's actually not the compression between the pads and the disc that is the braking force. It's the friction material from the pads put onto the disc and the friction material in between. So in order to actually work, the pads has to transfer some friction material onto the disc before it will work. So for the next 100 kilometers or something like that, they are bedding in, and I'm going to try to treat them decent. So if I can avoid it, no extremely hard braking or anything like that, just normal driving, letting it cool and heat up and so on. No track days for the next 100 kilometers, unfortunately, in the Benz. But I will have to see if it works. I want to get up to speed and then just brake. So I'm just slowly gonna climb to around 80 kilometers per hour and then brake down to 0 and see if it shakes like it did before. And that is 80. Then I'm just gonna stop slowly. That feels nice. It's a little bit still, but I think that is coming from the back. It's not at all as bad as before. There's still a little tiny bit. It's way better. It's way better. I think I'm gonna have to change the discs at the rear at some point. It's not a big deal, this. It's just a small annoyance. But it would be nice to fix. I really would like one of those tools that can rephase a brake rotor, because it feels like such a waste, like today when I throw out a set of discs, which is perfectly fine. It's just a little bit warped. It could just be rephased and it would be nice. But it's way too expensive to get a shop to do it. It would be way cheaper to just buy a new set of discs. But it would be nice to have one of those, because especially today it felt like a waste. Both the pads and the discs were just fine, and well, they were not, because they were shaking a little bit, but other than that they were pretty fine. So yeah, anyway, it is what it is. It's another small thing fixed on the Benz that was annoying me. I really like this car, but small things are poking in my eye in this, because it's such a nice driver. The small things will really annoy. And the gear change is now better after I fixed the vacuum system. The brakes are now better after I changed the rotors. I can see something at nighttime, because the light is actually pointing up and not down. So that's great. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.